White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. And we are coming to you from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, where this afternoon CSN Chicago presents White Sox baseball. Xavier Garcia, Derek Holland, and Rick Renfria's Sox as they get set to butt heads with Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, Alex Gordon, and the Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stone as we get set to bring you the fourth and final game of this set. As you know, they have taken 2 out of the first 3. They won the opener 6-1, then Quintana shut them out 6-0 in game 2, and then they won again last night 6-1. And the only offense we had last night was a home run.
Jose Abreu was starting to heat it up and couldn't come at a better time, along with Avi Garcia. Both of these guys are doing it, and last night, the only run of the ball game. Strom hung a breaking ball, and Jose rode it out of the park. And he's been on a pretty hot streak. We'll take a look over the last 9 games, hitting a robust .400. He's hit the 3 home runs, driven in 6, scored 9. And as you can see, things starting to fall together for him.
Well, Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer are starting to heat it up as well.
If the Royals are going to do it, they're going to do it because of the boys on the corners. And that's Moustakas and Hosmer, both looking ahead to free agency. But in the meantime, both of them starting to look a whole lot better. Last night, Moustakas with a big hit. This one rolled all the way to the wall. It made it a 1-0 game, and they just added on from there. Eric Hosmer also doing a pretty good job recently. He's hitting in the 240s, but lately he's going to the opposite field. When he does that, he's going to start hitting, and these really are 2 of the big keys to the Royals this year. If they produce, the Royals should score some runs.
Well, an interesting pitching matchup this afternoon because 2 of the best pitchers in this league as we speak. The numbers are just terrific. They hadn't won that many ball games, but it should be a real good pitching group.
Veteran pitchers, a lefty and a righty. Derek Holland for us and Ian Kennedy for them. And Kennedy is a pretty good control pitcher. There you look at the last 5 starts for him, although he hasn't won. The ERA is terrific. As far as Derek Holland, he's 2-2. His ERA even better. Both of these guys know their craft. They've been around a long time, and both of them, when healthy, are tough to deal with. And hopefully today, Derek will be on his game.
All right, Derek Holland on the bump for us. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
Kansas City as our Sox are getting ready to heat it up with the Kansas City Royals in the finale of this series. And up here in the booth, I've got Dan Hayes, our White Sox insider from CSN, and he's got some news that unfortunately is becoming all too common for the Sox and its injuries.
Yeah, actually, if you ever watched Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey said, our pets' heads are falling off. Got a little bit of that going on right now because Nate Jones went on the disabled list today with some forearm issues, but at the same time, minor issues. Basically, he said he's been feeling this the last 4 or 5 times out. So yesterday it prompted an MRI. Basically, it's not as bad. I mean, Nate Jones obviously had Tommy John a couple years ago, and so he got very concerned about this. And obviously, you saw it on Saturday. David Robertson pitched 2 innings. Nate Jones did not come in there at the end of the game. It's because of this. Nate Jones has been down. They've been monitoring it. Finally, it got to the point where they needed to do the MRI, but he feels relieved. They think they're hopeful it's a 2-week thing. I mean, they've had that come before with James Shields. They thought it was going to be a short thing. Obviously, injuries are uncertain, but they feel like they're on the safe side here with Nate Jones. He looked very relieved today.
And the corresponding move, anytime you lose a pitcher to the DL, you call a pitcher back. Who's coming back?
David Holmberg is coming up. Now, he's a guy that went out early in camp, but at the same time, when it looked like Carlos Rodon might start the season on the DL, he was kind of mentioned as that possible guy to fill in. Obviously, Dylan Covey has filled that out. But Holmberg went to Charlotte and pitched 6 times, struck out 13 and 15 in the third, pitched very well.
I also looked at the ball game yesterday and noticed that Cody Ashley only had 1 at bat, and then he was taken down for Matt Davidson, who came on to pinch hit against a right-hand pitcher, which is unusual. Tell us a little something about that, but he is back in the lineup today.
He is, and today he said that he didn't live up to White Sox standards last night. And both he and Rick Renneria briefly addressed it. They did not get into why, but if you look at the at-bat afterwards, it's potentially a hustle thing. He struck out, ball was in the dirt, he didn't move towards first. Now, again, there's nobody saying this is what it was, but both of them talked about it being kind of an in-house issue, and that wouldn't surprise me if that was the case.
What I like about it from Ricky is, number one, you take control of your team by demanding that they hustle each and every play, and number two, there's no doghouse, because if Ricky Renteria was unhappy with Cody Ashley, he wouldn't have put him in the lineup today, but he's telling him, look, you learned from yesterday. We don't have that anymore. We only have today, and he's back in the lineup, showing managerial confidence in what Ashley can do, because he said he's a pretty good hitter.
Right, and Ashley said this isn't something that's going to happen again. He was very clear on that. And Renneria, we talked to him at length about the fact that Ashley has struggled, and he said, look, this is a guy with a track record, so we are showing that confidence. We know he can do this at the major league level. We're going to keep running him out there. That's why you see guys getting 2 days in a row, because they want to give him a chance to build that rhythm up, and he obviously hasn't found it yet, but they're very hopeful it's still in there. He's a left-handed bat, and there's not a lot of those in the lineup.
Ricky Renteria has done a great job of mixing the players from the bench into the everyday players, and one of the guys that's benefited from this is Leury Garcia. Leury off to a great start, getting a lot of play, and do you see him as the center field option going forward?
I mean, at this point, he is probably their best option. Jacob May, obviously, they both said it. He was a little overmatched at the big league level, so Leury Garcia is not your everyday center fielder. It's basically he's learning it as he goes. He's an infielder by trade, but they've said he's a good center fielder. We've seen some really good plays from him out there. I think the biggest thing that's really key in this is his strikeout rate is just significantly down. As of last week, it was about 4 days ago, he'd been 8% down from 31 for his career. So that's always been kind of the thing for him. If he could put the ball in play and use that speed to his advantage more, he was going to get on base, and we've seen it more often. When you're an 800 OPS guy versus a 460, they find a way to put your name in the lineup.
Thank you to Dan Hayes. We're going to rename that segment Good Stuff from Dan Hayes, because he had lots of good stuff, and when he's the busiest man around, that's usually a bit of a problem. But stay with us, because it gets more entertaining as our Sox take on the Royals after these messages. sunny Kansas City here at Kauffman Stadium. A gorgeous day today. It's going to wind up in the mid-60s, and the wind gently blowing in from left field as Ricky Renteria gets ready. He's already had to make a switch in the lineup. Todd Frazier, who was in the initial lineup, was taken down because of some back stiffness. So in his place, Matt Davidson moves into the lineup, and he'll be hitting him back with Kobayashi. Davidson will be playing third, but we will get to that in a minute as the umpires are waiting for the Royals, who've won 2 of 3 in this series, to take the field. This is a team that's gotten off to a horrendously slow start because the offense hasn't been there. So let's take a look at how Ricky is going to line up our Sox for the game this afternoon. Tyler Saladino in the 1 spot playing shortstop, then it's Melky Cabrera in left, Jose Abreu at first, Avisail Garcia leading the American League in batting average, 4th in hits. He's off to a great start. Leary Garcia also a good start. Kobayashi, Matt Davidson, Giovanni Soto behind the plate, and Yolmer Sanchez batting 9th and playing second base. The defense and how Ned Yost is going to line them up behind Ian Kennedy, Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, and Jorge Bonifacio in the outfield. Mike Moustakas, Alcides Escobar, Whit Merrifield, and Eric Hosmer in the infield. Salvador Perez once again behind the plate, and our Lexus Experience Amazing starting pitcher is Ian Kennedy. Back in 2011 went 21-4. He's on for his 6th start, has not won yet, but the ERA at 2.30 and batting average against 159. So guys from both sides of the plate haven't touched him very much. The umpires for the game this afternoon: Bill Miller, the crew chief, is behind the plate. Kerwin Danley is at first. Todd Tishner is at second. And Adam Hamari is at third base. What a radical departure from the weather that we've seen in this city the previous 3 days. Glorious day today. Good day to pitch. Good day to win one. And even a better day off the heels of a win, flying to Baltimore to pick up the final 3 games of this road trip. So Kennedy continues to get loose. It is a relatively easy day to get loose, and Ian Kennedy has all 4 pitches: the fastball, the curveball, the slider, and the change. His changeup is getting better. He's using more of those. Still throws more curveballs than sliders, but has a couple of very good pitches. And when he's on, like most guys, he's got pinpoint control, and normally he's very good. So they've thrown the ball around the infield. Ian Kennedy appears to be ready to go. Tyler Saladino in the batter's box, waiting for the first pitch. And time now to throw it to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Stoney, thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox Baseball right here on CSN Chicago. And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours, as here's the first pitch of the ball game. Looking for it, got it, and underneath it. Well, when you're taking the mound for your 6th start and you're coming in with opponents hitting just 159,
you're getting it done.
You've been pitching your fanny off. And he hadn't won a game. He's 0-2. .65 degrees at game time. Big departure from the first 3.
Boy, is it.
And here at beautiful Kauffman Stadium, 330 down the lines, 387 in the gaps, and 410 straight away center. Sox come in hitting at 232 as a team with a 3.24 ERA. Sox played 14 games on the road this year, and in some tough venues, and they've done well, 7-7.
Also gets a little tougher because Baltimore at home is no day at the beach, and now they got Zach Britton back. That means that the Orioles have their bullpen reassembled, and at 16-10, a game behind New York, the Orioles off to a very good start. 8-3 at home, by the way, are those Baltimores.
Got an at 1-2, and this is the 7th meeting of the year between these 2 clubs already. In the first 6, we have won 4 of them. Gap out there in left center field. And a count 2-2.
This is what Tyler does very well. He's going to see his 7th pitch of the at-bat. That means that everybody else is taking a look at what Kennedy has today, and a long at-bat is what you want from your leadoff hitter.
One gone.
He saved his best for last. He threads the needle on the outside part of the plate. Salvi just puts the glove there. He fills it up. And when you do that, you're going to get the benefit of each and every call.
Well, one thing about it, this has been, even though we've lost 2 out of the first 3 here, this has been a well umpired series.
It's actually been a well played series overall. Just unfortunately, not a whole lot of runs forthcoming from either of these 2 teams.
Cabrera, that's into left field, short. Long way to go, and that's going to fall. So there's a Kansas City special for you. Except coming off the bat of a White Sox player.
Nobody can get to this. Gordon, late start. The only guy that had a shot would have been Escobar. He can't get to it either. It didn't stay up long enough. So Melky aboard. Melky last night had a hit in the first inning. Was the only hit the Sox got until 2 outs in the 9th when Jose Abreu hit a solo homer.
Abreu 2 for 13 in the series. Takes first pitch strike.
This field actually plays a little smaller in the daytime. You don't have that heavy air, that night dense moist air to affect the flight of the ball. It's not an easy place to hit a home run, but it's a lot easier in the daytime than it is at night.
Well, they're going to go out of here to right.
There's no doubt.
That breaking ball, and the count 0-2.
Kennedy has started to use his straight change a lot more, and he's trying to evolve. This is a guy who's been around a long time. 86 and 81 coming into action, 5 games over 500 for the course of his career.
Out of Leawood, Kansas. Watch out, just ate him up right there. Sox in the last 10 games have won 7 of them. Good job to lay off that one. That was a tantalizing curveball.
A great spot to throw it. You're ahead of the hitter. You don't want to throw a strike. Throw one close enough to make it interesting, but not close enough for him to get anything on the swing.
Two and two.
Kennedy pitched collegiately at USC. And that used to be one of the great baseball factories around. These days, not quite as dominant as they once were.
Rod Dato.
Yeah, he was great.
That ball hit hard. Nobody's going to get that one. Stay in there. It will. You can put it on the board. Yes. Just a line shot out of here. Alenia. And it is 2-0 good guys.
4th home run. He's now driven in 14. And Jose has started to heat it up. As the weather has heated up, so has Jose. And that was a line drive rocket. The only question, would it stay up long enough to leave the ballpark? As our 4th home run replay will show, it's a fastball, outer third. Jose crushes it.
So here is Avi, and of course with that home run by Abreu, Alex Nelia's family, another donation to White Sox charities in loving memory of Ursula. There's a 2-hopper. 2 down. And right now let's check out our picks to click. Fans went with Melky. Cruz going with Tyler. Steve's going with Yolmer. And all the communications people, Scott Reifert, Bob Bechtel, Sheena Quinn, Ray Garcia, Joe Rody, Julian Bartos, and the Sunwall. We're going to go with Cody Ashe. Leary hitting at .275, a couple of homers, 7 knocked in.
He's really made the most of his opportunity, and that opportunity came up. He battled for the spot, and now he's pretty much got it.
Well, there's no question about the talent.
No, and he's got wonderful tools. He's got a terrific arm, a lifetime shortstop. He's got great speed, which serves him well in center field, and can hit from both sides of the plate.
Got him, but the line drive home run by Abreu will go to the bottom of the first inning with a 2-0 lead. What's that?
Moustakas and Kane at the top, with Eric Hosmer, who has been doing a good job lately and always a good job against our Sox. Then it's Salvi Perez, Alex Gordon, Jorge Bonifacio, Escobar, and Cuthbert rounded out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Derek Holland. It's Melky, Leary, and Avisail in the outfield, with Matt Davidson, Tyler Saladino, Yolmer Sanchez, and Jose Abreu in the infield. Giovanni Soto, who's been hot offensively behind the plate. And our Lexus experienced amazing starting pitcher is Derek Holland, who's been throwing it awfully well. On for a 6th start, 2-2, but the ERA spectacular at 2.17. He loves to bury the ball in on the hands of the right-hand hitters.
And that's one reason I love to watch him pitch.
He'll make his presence known in there and crack more than a few bats.
So here's Whit Merrifield, 2 for 8 in the series. It's amazing how many pitchers cannot pitch inside. Absolutely amazing. Knowing that in the major leagues, you better pitch inside. You're not going to have pinpoint control each and every outing.
Well, look, you've got 17 inches on the plate. If you throw inside and push hitters off, it usually gives you another couple inches on the outside part of the plate. That's what you're setting up, is trying to
widen the plate.
Yeah.
That's what good pitchers do in the major leagues. They widen the plate from 17. Some guys pitch to 21, 22-inch plates.
For many years, the Atlanta Braves staff was just like that.
Those are numbers that I like. Dan Hayes gave some good numbers. Has been giving good numbers.
Last couple of days, Dan Hayes has been a busy man, and he's really been giving great reports to our fans on what's happening with the ball club.
Well, with like Lee Urey, for an example, saying he's cut his percentage of strikeouts down from 31% to 8%. Those are numbers that I can understand. Those are numbers that people like to hear, because that's a definitive thing. There's so many subjective numbers that are thrown out there today. It's just amazing.
Well, if Leary puts a bat on the ball with his speed, he'll get himself another couple of hits a week just by topping ground balls or pushing a bunt now and then. With that kind of speed, you got to take advantage of it.
1-2 pitch. Here you go. There's a change. Well, one thing, it's just, to me, it's common sense. Pitchers are taught by most organizations, not by all, but by most organizations and by most pitching coaches, not all pitching coaches, to pitch inside. So if that's the case, and you're going to widen that plate and make it from 17, you're going to take it to maybe 20, 21, 22 inches. Who is going to win the most games? Because if you don't widen it out and pitch inside, that plate's going to shrink from 17 down to 14 or 15. Who's going to win the most games?
Obviously, the
it's
guy
common sense
pushes you back off the plate.
Exactly.
And allows then the outside corner to look a little further away for that hitter.
Moustakas 0-2. Mike hitting at .269, 7 homers, 12 knocked in, was voted the player of the month for the Royals in April. Here you go, 2 down.
Good sweeping breaking ball away from Moustakas, who is trying to pull everything. And by doing that, you fall victim to that. A good slider blowing away out of the zone, and the key was getting ahead and having the hitter forced to defend the bigger plate.
So here's Kane. Lorenzo 2 for 10 in the series, hitting at .264. Homer, he's driven in 6. Gap out there in left center, outfield. Swung around to the right. Avi short out there in right field. Avi overall has been playing some of the shortest right field. As here he comes, he's there. He's playing some of the shortest right field in the American League. So 1, 2, 3 inning, and after one, it's 2-0. Good guys.
By State Farm. We'd like to welcome all our viewers watching on I'm On in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You are on.
They got my money in Cedar Rapids.
They do, huh?
They got some sandbaggers there.
They got some viewers apparently too.
They got some guys who claim to have 8 and 9 handicaps who put a little 71, 72 when you're in a hurry.
But you just ran into a hot round.
Well, you know, there's one way to solve it, though.
Yeah.
Pay. Fast pay makes fast friends. So here is Ashe.
Kennedy, originally a member of the New York Yankees, drafted in the first round back in 2006. 21st pick in the country.
That ball high into short right center.
as you got to be not an older player, because you really didn't play as an older player, but as you got through the aging process, how difficult was it in a day game after a night game?
Well, I didn't mind it. I loved it. I'm one of the few guys that ever loved to play in doubleheaders. I loved them. We used to have scheduled doubleheaders.
Yep.
Schedule on Sunday, doubleheader, and then off day on Monday. But you know, I retired when I was 29, so I was, you know, still in decent shape, except for my leg and my ankle.
When you break it as badly as you broke it, it's real tough to come back 100%.
Well, if I'd have been a horse, they'd have shot me. For a lot of guys, though, we both know it's very tough. Especially, not so much in April and May, but boy, you get in August and September. That's when it really gets to be tough for some guys. Especially in Kansas City, St. Louis, Baltimore, Washington. There's a broken bat by Nat.
Moustakas is able to get out of the way of the baseball, which was well foul, and the bat, which was coming right at him. This Kansas City team, for whatever reason, and this is an oddity because you just don't see this very much, they're 1-8 in day games. So obviously they have not adjusted particularly well.
No.
Our ball club 6-5 in day games.
Matt, good rip right there. Hitting at 255, 4 homers he's driven in 14.
Kennedy, year after year, has given up a lot of home runs. He's also hit a lot of people. Led the league one year with 14. That was back in 2012 with the Diamondbacks. Last year he hit 13 as a member of these Royals.
Well, you led the league one year and hit batsmen.
Yeah,
that's one reason that, you know, you widen the plate out for yourself.
As many of the breaking balls as I threw away, didn't matter, right or left-hand hitters, really didn't matter. But as many as I threw away, I had to throw my fastball inside. As I'm throwing fastballs away, he's got the same eye angle for every pitch, and then you really get burned.
Well, there's another situation too. The culture of the game when you pitched was a little different than it is today. When you hit guys back in your time zone, most of the time it was either with an intent or you were going to miss inside, period. Okay, because guys didn't dive and hit themselves like they do today. Way back. And you can put it on the board. Yes.
Towering fly ball, the 5th home run, 15 driven in. Matt Davidson had no idea he was going to play in this ball game today. If you're just joining us now, Todd Frazier was scratched with some back issues, some stiffness, and it brought Matt Davidson in the game. Forward home run replay, a towering fly ball, making it a 3-0 game, and the 2nd home run the boys have hit today.
Well, some guys can handle that. Let's out. Some guys can handle it better than others. As far as coming to the ballpark, looking at the lineup card, knowing you're not playing, all of a sudden you're free and easy. You know, your mind, you're not thinking about, you know, a swing and mechanics or anything like that. And all of a sudden, poof, you're in the lineup, and you go up there and you got nothing, no problems behind the plate. Everything is solutions in front of the plate. .452 they measured that one at.
Yeah, it's a nice thought. I don't think it went quite that far, but it was a bomb. Gordon took a couple of steps and looked up, and that was it. But Kennedy has always given up a lot of home runs because he's around the plate a lot. And anybody that doesn't have overpowering stuff and is around the plate is going to give up homers. As long as they're solo homers, they usually don't hurt you.
Well, the Phillies, way back when, usually guys who throw a lot of home runs hit quite a few batsmen as well. But there was a guy who pitched for the Phillies way back when, who was an outstanding pitcher. Won 20 games almost every year with a bad ball club, and the Phillies were really bad. He never hit anybody. As he gets him. So Gio's gone, 2 down, and that guy's name was Robin Roberts.
He was something, Robin Roberts.
Yeah, pitching for those ball clubs and winning 20 games and never hitting, no throwing at everybody. Well, Koufax never threw at anybody either.
He didn't have to. Nobody could hit him.
That's right. It was the exception to the rule in that time zone. The guys didn't throw at guys. There's a shot. That a boy. Steve's picked a click. Yolmer.
Well, he's been swinging it very well, and with his swinging it well, I like what Ricky Renteria does. When he brings a guy into the lineup that's been sitting for a few days, he plays him at least 2 games in a row to allow him to get his rhythm. And this is a first ball fastball that Yolmer drives into right field to keep the inning alive. But he's been doing a lot of things well.
He's a good player.
Excellent on that turn at second.
Sanchez is a good player.
Yolmer's had a stolen base. It was the first one he had stolen.
Well, he had a Lance Johnson jump.
Since he stole that for the first time since 2015.
They got him. You know who's behind the plate? So that's.
Well, he's gonna fall over from exhaustion.
Well, that's more of a mental mistake right there. You know Perez can throw, and he loves to throw. Meanwhile, the home run by Matt Davidson, and it is 3-0. This ball is killed.
Forward to Miller time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. The boys have jumped out early, given Derek Holland a 3-run lead as he sliced his way easily through the lineup, 3 up, 3 down in the first inning, facing the middle of the order.
Oh, I won the count to Hosmer. 4 for 10 with a homer in the series.
Had a couple of hits last night, had a perfect night, a walk and a sacrifice fly to go with the 2 singles. The key for him was one was to left field and one was to left center field. When Hosmer does that, it's only a matter of time till he starts hitting quite a bit.
Well, he's never going to realize his full offensive potential, in my opinion, in this ballpark. This is, as you mentioned, at night it's very difficult. Today it's a little different story.
Yeah, it's jumping today.
Yeah, you can hit him out of here. Tyler's got him, went out. So, Sox fans, celebrate your Italian roots with Italian Heritage Night presented by Beggar's Pizza when we take on the San Diego Padres on Friday, May 12th. Now, Italian Heritage Night will feature specially priced tickets and a post-game fireworks show, a big extravaganza post-game fireworks show. So to purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/Italy. Perez takes first pitch strike. Salvador hitting at 247, 6 homers, 14 knocked in. No, but when you get a guy like Hosmer, if he uses the whole field like he's certainly capable of, and we've seen in the past, rather than just using from the right side from second base over. And guys in a big ballpark, a tough ballpark, have a tendency to do that. There was a third baseman that played for, that's looped out there now. Yalmer's got him, 2 down. There was a third baseman that played for the Texas Rangers, who went down to Atlanta. And in Texas, he swung from his behind all the time because of that wind that blew straight in the old ballpark at Arlington.
Yep.
And he didn't hit that many home runs, and he certainly had the power. But he goes down to Atlanta and hits 30 or 40 a year. And it just goes to show you, because in Texas, in Arlington, he had a big old long swing, gets to Atlanta. First thing you know, after about a couple of months, it shortens up.
Big right-hand hitter, Jeff Burrows.
That's him. High into center field. So that is 6 up, 6 down.
Head out west to take on the LA Galaxy. Coverage starts Saturday at 9 on CSN with Chicago Fire pregame live.
It's a 3-0 good guy score here, top of the 3rd inning. It'll be the top of the order, Saladino, Cabrera, Abreu. Kennedy, 32 years old, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds.
The 2011 year with the Diamondbacks at 21-4. His ERA in 33 starts was .288. Just a magnificent season. He followed it up 15-12 with the same Diamondbacks, then moved around.
High in the left field, Alex. That wind being a factor. 1 out.
But it turned out he had a long way to go for that one, as the wind kept swatting it back toward the infield. And that's what it looks like. The wind starting to pick up somewhat. It does blow a bit harder in the daytime than the nighttime. It's going to affect anything going to right and right center field. It's going to take it out of here.
Here's Cabrera. Top of the zone. That ball hit high and deep. Stretch. Stretch. No. Kane. I thought that ball was going to be at least to the track.
Let's take a look at StatCast powered by AWS. And last night, on a rolling breaking ball, Jose Abreu with 2 outs in the 9th inning breaks up the shutout. Exit velocity 107.4. Projected distance 396 feet. You don't have to hit it too far out of that bullpen.
Well, that was just the second hit we had last evening. 1 run on 2 hits. So that'll show you how Nate Carnes and Moylan and Strom were. Carnes had really a good curveball.
Well, he was just outstanding last night. That's as good as he's looked in a long time. And getting the curveball over early set up the entire performance.
You know how you play against clubs and you can tell. You can just tell how competitive they are, how much life they've got. And that ball into right center field. Kane is very, very graceful. A little bit like Devon White, former Blue Jay center fielder. Meanwhile, 1-2-3 inning. White Sox greats on homecoming weekend, Friday, May 26th to Sunday, May 28th, when our Sox battle the Detroit Tigers. Our homecoming weekend is presented by the Village of Bedford Park. Bring your business home to Bedford Park and win big. So get your tickets by visiting whitesox.com. But, you know, getting back to when you play against different clubs, you know, you can feel the vibes there. You can feel how they feel, so to speak, and vice versa. I was talking to some Kansas City people after the game last night. A couple players, a couple coaches, and they said that's a different White Sox club than we've seen the last few years. One out.
Well, the team is hustling up and down this lineup and doing.
That was one of the first things they talked about.
Doing a lot of things right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the. And there's not a whole lot of rules that Ricky Renteria wanted to impart on his team, but one of them is hustle all the time, offensively, defensively, whatever you do, do it with everything you have, and then you won't hear from him.
Strike to Escobar, hitting at 198, 4 for 9 in the series.
Well, Derek is going to throw some off-speed breaking balls to Escobar. I want to make sure that Davidson at third doesn't stray too far off the line, because last night Escobar got one inside, took it right down the line past the diving Todd Frazier, who could not get to it, and it was a two-base hit.
Three runs on 4 hits for our guys, no runs on no hits for their guys. Here you go. 2 down.
Third strikeout. And a good, tight, little slider. Doesn't break a lot. Just breaks enough to have Escobar swinging over the top.
Tesler Cuthbert, 24-year-old DH this afternoon. Big crowd on hand. Huge crowd on hand. They're averaging 25,571, and they're way above that today.
Cuthbert is from Nicaragua, one of the few players that have come out of Nicaragua to play in the major leagues.
Backs up. The peg, nice motion right there. So that's 9 up, 9 down for Derek Holland.
Juan Moncada and the Charlotte Knights take on the Norfolk Tides, with Tyler Danish and his 1.96 ERA taking the mound tonight at 6. right here on CSN.
Ivy will lead it off for us. Be followed by Liuri. And that's how to play right side.
The Cleveland-Detroit game, ostensibly to be played in Detroit, was postponed relatively early this morning. And the Indians coming to town, they will follow us in here to Kansas City.
Breaking ball. Booted by Moustakas. That's something you don't see very often.
We'll see. Scoring decision is E5. I think if he comes straight ahead where he can smother the short hop, it's an easier play, but he didn't, and it trickled away from him.
All right, let's make something happen right here. He already struck out back in the first.
The approach trying to lay a bunt down, if you stab at the ball, you're not going to do it real well. You have to catch the ball with your bat. That's 2 attempts and not much contact. Good curveball. Not an easy pitch to bunt. That hit him, I think.
Yes, it did.
He wants to have a look at Liuri. Curveball low and in, hit right off the toe of the left foot. That most likely will leave a mark.
Oh. That.
Get out the paper clip.
Paper clip.
Heat it up.
Heat it up and stick it right down through the middle.
I honestly didn't mind that.
No.
Especially when it was done on you. I would have minded a lot if it was ever done on me.
Well, that's all the toenail is. It's all protein.
Yeah.
But just make sure that you're in a room with tall ceilings. Because it's going straight up when you put the paper clip in there.
Oh, I thought you want to make sure when you jumped up you didn't bang your head on the ceiling.
Oh.
That can't feel that great.
You know, it actually doesn't hurt. Really doesn't. So here is Cody. Ashy. All right, 2 on, nobody out. Now they're going to call a balk.
Looks like that was called by Todd Tishner.
Yeah.
It's unusual for a veteran pitcher to do that. We'll watch it again. right there. He started to move forward with his glove hand, and it was called.
That's the first ball called on Kennedy. All right, Cody, not too much, buddy. Just soak up on that bat a little bit. Hit you a ground ball to second. They're back. Everybody back up the middle. Corners in close.
Ground ball to second, moves the runner along and scores one.
That's fair ball, attaboy. That's going to score two. He's on his way to second base, and he will get there with a 2-run double, and it's a 5-0 Sox lead. Scott Reifert, Bob Bechtel, Sheena Quinn, Ray Garcia, Joe Rody, Julian Bartos, and Hannah Sunwalls picked a click. So we catch a break with the arrow, and then the hit batsman, the balk,
and the low curveball that doesn't bite down quite as much as Kennedy would have liked. He eases it by Hosmer, and that's the second and third runs batted in for Cody Asche this year.
Here's Matt. He had a long home run. Blocked nicely by Perez. They measured it at 452 feet.
Here it is. First at bat in the second inning. First at bat for Matt Davidson, and he got what appeared to be a slider that didn't slide. Took it way back into the waterfall.
That ball hit hard into right center field, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Now that's a play right there. Even if you check your outfielders, you still got to be a little, especially when you got Lorenzo Cain out there. You got to be a little cautious.
And you got a strong hitter, so you don't know how far the ball is going to carry to him. But this ball was slicing away from Cain and in front of Bonifacio. So the man who was supposedly given the day off now finds himself 2 for 2. And that'll bring Dave Island out from the dugout to kill some time so the bullpen can get loose. Cody Asche with good base running.
Yes, it was. That's what you call. It's not a bad base running play. That's a good base running play.
Because you get nobody out, and rather than gamble, that's what keep the pressure on Kennedy. So Island will go back in, and there's runners at the corners with the bullpen up and going for the first time. Mike Minor.
So here's Gio. Struck out his first trip.
Gio has one sacrifice fly this year.
Caught, and a good base running play right there by Matt Davidson. Don't get double up. Good job by Darrell Boston as well. Tough at bat right there for Gio.
And a tough base running play for Matt Davidson. You got to figure, just taking a look at Hosmer at 6'4", he's going to make the play, but it's lined between you and the bag. So he got back quickly and saved the double play.
So here's Yolmer. He's singled. And takes first pitch strike. Like to have that one back. That's wheelhouse for him.
91 miles an hour right down the middle.
Runners at the corners, 1 out, 1-1 the count. Just tuning in, we scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 so far here in the fourth. There's the play we talked about where the first base coach. Well, you know one thing, just before that pitch was made, Darryl told him, don't get doubled up on the line drive, because that's the only way he could have reacted the way he did. Two and two.
Nice stop by Perez, making sure there's no advancement.
Covering the plate, protecting the plate. Count hangs at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
A whole lot of pitches to get to where he is with 1 out here in the fourth. Pitch number 66 on the way.
And a full count. They got to come home. They're going to get him hung up. So that is out number 2.
It's a contact play, and on the contact play you're running, hoping that the ball is not fielded cleanly. It was, and the run down is pretty easy after that. Leading runners at first and second, but now there are 2 outs.
So here's Tyler. He is due. He's 0 for 2. Takes ball 1.
Big gap in left center. Tyler looking for something off speed to pull into a huge gap.
At the bottom of the zone.
Ball could have gone either way. Perez thought it was a little down because he yanked the glove back up.
Well, he got himself a good cookie right there and missed it. One and 2. a little too high. A couple inches down further, and that would have been a cookie.
That breaking ball stayed up. That turned out to be the break for Kennedy.
Full count with 2 out. And on first and second. Now hit that gap in left center. And that's ball 4. That'll load him up. That's a good at bat for Tyler. Even though he did have one really good pitch to hit. So here is Cabrera. He's 1 for 2. That's one of the big differences. Huge differences in the major leagues and AAA and AA. Very seldom you get 2 real good pitches to hit when at bat in the major leagues. AAA and AA, you're liable to get sometimes 2 or 3.
You're gonna get your pitch, certainly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't get your pitch at all.
That's right. Not too much. Nice and easy. And very quickly the count 0-2.
It's number 77 on the way.
Softly hit up the middle, takes him right to the bag. He steps on it, and that'll retire the side. But we do come up with a pair. We go to the bottom of the 4th, and we lead it 5-0.
all season long on csnchicago.com, presented by The Great Escape. Whether it's pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, or more, escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape.
Bottom of the fourth inning. It'll be the top of the order as Derek Holland has retired the first 9 he has seen. It'll be Merrifield, Moustakas, and Kane. Takes first pitch strike.
That time he changed up patterns because on the first pitch, over 50% of the time, Derek Holland will throw off-speed pitches. That time he threw a fastball and got the strike.
Quickly 2 strikes. After this ball game, we will board our charter, head on over to Baltimore. High. One out. And the 2017 Chicago White Sox are presented by Guaranteed Rate. When buying a home, the best mortgage experience on the planet starts at rate.com. So here's Moustakas. All right, struck out his first trip, but in that Baltimore series starting tomorrow, it'll be our Miguel Gonzalez against their southpaw Wade Miley. On Saturday, Dylan Covey against Dylan Bundy. And in the finale of that series and final game of this 10-game road trip, Jose Quintana against to be announced for the Orioles.
Jose's had 2 really strong games back-to-back, both against these Royals, and he defeated them in less than a week in both games. Last time in a similar situation, he threw a sweeping slider low and out of the zone and got Moustakas swinging. Looks like he's going to try it again. This time just able to stay alive.
Now those games tomorrow night will be right here over CSN Chicago. Saturday will be over WGN, and Sunday on CSN Chicago. That's fair ball right inside the line. So you can cancel the post-game show. 5th double for Moustakas.
He doesn't use left field too often, but he used it effectively that time. Making up the perfect game. This ball was up. I think Derek might have wanted it a little higher than he got it. It was just a touch above waist high. And he went the opposite way, slicing a double.
There's Kane. He popped up to Ivy in right field. Topper to Opera. And 2 down. That'll bring up Hosmer, who also grounded to Saladino with short. Close pitch, didn't get it.
They had weather day at the ballpark today, which is one of the reasons why they are absolutely packed. As we look around, a lot of young people came, just like what we have with Tom Skilling when we have a weather day, guaranteed rate. They did the same thing here, and there was a huge crowd very early to hear all the weather information.
Big rip. And the count 1-2. It's now hard high or slow low.
Only 40 pitches to this point, so good control for Derek Holland, who's been getting ahead of just about each and every one of these Royals hitters.
He gone. And that'll retire the side. We're into the 5th, leading by 5.
Sports into your remote and get live game stats, up to the minute scores and standings right on your television. Change the way you experience sports with Xfinity X1. And there is an example.
Kennedy into his 5th inning of work, and we lead it 5-0. First pitch strike to Abreu. Had a 2-run homer in the first. He's 1 for 2. Outfield spread out, shaded to the right, big gap out there in left center. Two and one.
That one was close, missed down and out of the zone.
And the count 3-1. It's full. High in center field. He just missed it. 1 out.
Bullpen up and going for the second time. Minor was up before. As the pitches started to pile up. 84th will be the first pitch to Avi.
Avi 0 for 2.
Certainly at this point, Minor is ready to go. There you look at the line of Ian Kennedy. Been touched up for 5 runs, 4 of them earned. Now they want to have a word with him.
Perez looked over into the dugout. Like in the groin area.
Ned has seen enough. So Kennedy will depart. Minor will have as long as he wants to loosen up, and we'll step out and be back after these messages. The San Diego Padres on Saturday, May 13th at 6:10. First 20,000 fans will receive a Hawk Harrelson alarm clock presented by Total Lubricants. Visit whitesox.com to purchase your tickets today. It's a handsome alarm clock, and get there early because they are going to go like hotcakes. Our Hyundai call to the pen, and it is Mike Minor. He got ready very quickly because he had thrown a couple different times. There you look at the numbers on for the 11th time. ERA 3.65, a lefty out of the Atlanta Braves organization. Suffered through a few injuries over the course of his career to this point.
So Ivy will get back in there with a 1-0 count. One and one. Big gap in left center field. Just tuning in, we had 2 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 in the fourth.
Miner was signed as a free agent February 19th of last year, 2016. Missed all of the 2015 season. The torn labrum, suffered that as a member of the Atlanta Braves.
Two down.
Good overhand hook, and he freezes Avi.
That previous fastball was at 95, so he's still got a little giddy up on it. Here's Leury. He's 0 for 1. He was hit by a pitch last inning and came around to score.
Really pitcher preference. Miner throws from the extreme third base side of the pitching rubber. He feels it's easier to get that cutter inside on the right-hand hitters from that side of the mound. Some pitchers will move, sometimes hitter to hitter or pitch to pitch. Sometimes they'll get into a spot, just stay there depending on their stuff. Miner feels comfortable on that side.
I used to hate to face those left-handers that stood on the extreme first base side of that. Looked like they were coming right at you inside.
I was gonna say those are guys that want to bury it on your hands inside.
Two out, 3-1 the count. So good speed aboard. And here comes Cody Ashe. He had a 2-run double last inning. Cody has faced Miner 6 times. He has 2 hits. One of them left the ballpark. Took that pitch nicely off the plate. Good rip. Well, he was all over it, just underneath it. And he made a good pitch on him there. So 1-2. A little quick on that one, off the end of the bat. And that'll retire the side. We're halfway home. We lead it by 5. $95.
But you get 2 for 80.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You know, buy in volume.
1-0 the count to Salvador Perez. 5-0 Sox. Well, you know, talking about the DL that he just brought up, that's high left field. Cabrera fighting that wind and a little bit of that sun. But Dave Ross did some extensive research for us a couple days ago. In 2015, Stevie, the total number of DL's days, I should say, in the major leagues were 26,785. 26,785 for 30 teams. Last year, they waltzed right on by that. 27,748.
The way it's going this year,
they're gonna waltz right by that.
They're gonna go way by those numbers.
I mean, it's amazing. It really is absolutely amazing. As Alex last year, almost 28,000, and that will definitely go down. I'm talking about the number will be higher. There's a strike. 1-2.
Derek has really good command of that slow breaking curveball today.
Looks like he's just finishing everything off. Alex went out to Leary in center field. Full count.
Jorge Bonifacio waiting to see the resolution of this Gordon at bat.
Here you go. 5 strikeouts now. 2 down.
Hasn't walked anybody yet. Throws a low fastball in a good spot And Gordon swings over the top.
How many times did you go on the deal?
Let's see. 3 times, maybe 4 times over 14 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, don't forget, one of the big factors, whether it's psychological or any other type of factor, is that primarily on one-year contracts, I only had one multi-year contract, the last one. And on one-year contracts, you would fight not to go on the disabled list, because if you did, you weren't going to get paid for the next year.
Well, that's a great point, because you had to protect yourself, so to speak, by staying and not being a guy who was known to be able to go on that DL. If you had that moniker or that label that you were DL prone, so to speak, nobody wanted you.
No, that's true.
Nobody wanted you.
There's certainly something to be said for a manager who knows he can come to the ballpark day after day, whether it's a starting pitcher or whether it's one of your regulars, and you just write their name in because you know he's going to be available. Other guys, their bodies just don't allow them to be near as successful as they should be with their talent. Sometimes the bodies just don't cooperate.
The 2-2. He gone. Just blew him away, and we're into the 6th. Day of the season on Tuesday, May 9th, as our White Sox host the Minnesota Twins. Now, fans interested in bringing their favorite pup to the game can email dogday@shysox.com for an application, or visit whitesox.com/bark. Space is still available, but going fast. 0-1 the count. Matt, 2 for 2, a long home run, and then a soft single. Well, that's a perfect example and point that you brought up about the one-year contracts.
A lot of incentive to stay healthy and go to the post, whether you're a position player or a pitcher.
Again, one of the changes in the culture of the game.
It's true.
High into left center. Alex just missed it.
Multiple Gold Glove winner, Alex Gordon in left field. Pretty good for a guy who played third base, was drafted as a third baseman. Second player picked in the country out of Nebraska, and then shifted to left field, where he adjusted seamlessly to a whole lot more running than at third base.
So that hits Gio. Gio was 0 for 2 last time up back in the 4th inning. He hit a line shot. Hosmer went way up to make a catch on him.
Well, let's say that one will not leave a mark. I think Ned might want to take a look at it. It looked like on the replay it might have hit in front of him, but the question is, did it catch him on the way up? Because if you get hit on the hop, you still take your base. Could very well be that one grazed a piece of the uniform after that first hop. And they're going to take a look at it back in New York. Mike Minor came out of Vanderbilt University, a program that just keeps on getting better. Carson Fulmer was there too.
It seems like there's so many colleges today. When you go back, in time for a bit, as you alluded to earlier, USC used to be the #1, and Arizona State was #2.
Arizona State had a huge advantage for many years in recruiting over all the other schools, and it's because it was Bobby Winkles at ASU and Rod Dato at USC, two great coaches, and then you would go to them because they were great coaches from great programs, and then other teams, other universities started to
Florida State, who came in there as #3.
Yeah, and now Oregon State has put together some good baseball teams.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean they got good players all over, and the recruiting is wonderful. The only decision for these guys is, do you sign a professional contract or do you go to college?
Well, that's what we're talking about as far as all the good talent coming into baseball now. The recruiting crop, so to speak, is much larger now because the players are getting better and better and better.
And you have an international flavor. They always had some international. Now it's in abundance. Cuba's opened up. Japanese players have come over for years. Many more Koreans now coming over than ever came over before. So it's an international game, and we're seeing the benefits of it here in the major leagues.
Yeah, we have a tremendous amount of Koreans belong to one of the clubs that I belong to in Orlando. And I don't know how many, probably 20, 30 youngsters. Boy, do they work hard. Woo. Man, I'm telling you, they're out there from sunup to sundown.
The Korean men are good golfers. The Korean women have started to dominate the sport because nobody outworks them.
Well, the majority of the Koreans that belong to Orange Tree there in Orlando are women, female. Young females. Sanchez with a 2-2. Two down. Yeah, their work ethic is unbelievable. They have some of the young Korean girls there that they'll mark off 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 yards, 5-yard increments. And some of them will stand there all day long working back and forth on those shots all day long on just those distances.
Well, you can tell when you watch the tournaments how good their short game is.
Yeah, and their putting in years past has been very mediocre. Now it's becoming sensational. Tyler 0 for 2 with a walk.
Ian Kennedy left with a right hamstring strain. They'll let it cool down and evaluate more tomorrow.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with this young Mike Minor's arm out there.
Well, that's the gamble Kansas City took. They knew he could pitch, just a question of if he would stay healthy. And so far he has.
We go to the bottom of the 6th, still leading 5-0.
Because if you do, you can get a glimpse of the White Sox future as Yoan Moncada and the Charlotte Knights take on the Norfolk Tides. Tyler Danish takes his 1.96 ERA to the mound tonight at 6, right here on CSN.
It's the home half of the 6th inning. Here at Kauffman Stadium, it'll be Escobar, Cuthbert, and Merrifield to schedule hitters to face Derek Holland.
He started off with exceptional stuff, striking out the first 2 hitters he faced in Merrifield and Moustakas, and he's given up just 1 hit, the double by Moustakas in the 4th.
First pitch strike to Escobar. He struck out.
Escobar's got the longest active games played streak in the major leagues at 198.
Leury. And if you want to bring your little all-star closer to the game, fans 13 and under can join the White Sox Kids Club for special Kids Club giveaways, free White Sox tickets, and exclusive events. So head to whitesox.com/Kids Club. Do that today to join.
Travis Wood throwing in the pen.
Here's Cuthbert. Hit him on the fist. His first at bat for a little soft ground ball. Down to Matt Davidson at third. If you're just tuning in, Todd Frazier was originally in the lineup. He was scratched because of stiffness in his back.
Byron Buxton left the game for the Minnesota Twins. He crashed into the wall. They're trailing Oakland. With a potential loss of the guy who can go get him alley to alley with the best in the game. Buxton has astonishing speed.
He has astonishing talent.
He does that.
Ball hit deep into left center field. So Cuthbert is going to pick up the second hit. It's his first double of the season.
Took this ball into left center, and it seemed like Melky had a shot, but then came up short. So 2 doubles, only 2 hits. This one eludes Melky.
And here's Merrifield. Cuthbert had 28 doubles last year.
Merrifield has tormented Sox pitching over the course of his brief career, hitting .342 lifetime. That's not the best. It's right up there with the best. And a timeout by Gio as he wants to settle things down. Romer comes in to see if there's going to be a change of signals. Still a minimum of pitches. 62 of them with 1 out here in the 6th inning. That's getting it done very efficiently.
There's a strike and the count 2-1. He did not go.
Fielder Kerwin Danley.
Hit hard, but yanked foul. He gone.
Trying to lean out of the way of that, trying to convince Bill Miller that it was not in the zone. So a called third. Second time Merrifield has gone down on strikes.
That is 7 punch outs.
Nice job by Gio of easing the ball down and pretty much keeping the glove right there for Bill Miller.
I'll tell you, Gio and both Omar have been just terrific behind the plate.
I think the work in every category of the catching crew has been terrific.
Moustakas fouls that one away, souvenir over our dugout. And I tell you, offensively, they have had some key hits. But their real value has been behind that dish.
Yeah, you get 2 guys that understand how to handle pitchers, and both of them seem to frame pretty well.
Even more than the framing part, to me, it's getting them in a rhythm and keeping them in there. They're giving it back to them. They're giving it back to them. They're not taking their time. They put the sign down, let them go. Let them try to find their own rhythm out there. And then once they find it, keep them in it.
That's why working slowly, as Kennedy was today, it's very difficult to get any kind of rhythm if you're working that slowly.
I remember watching you pitch, and you wanted to get it and throw it.
That was that was toward the end, and that was when I got to Baltimore for the first time. I was throwing my second game, I believe, for them, And it's a second inning, nobody on, and Ray Miller, the pitching coach, comes running out. There was nothing really to tell me, I didn't think. And we'll get to that.
Nice play. And that'll retire the side. We'll go to the 7th, still leading 5-0.
Hayes talks to Tommy Canley about his hot start. Plus, our Chuck Garfien and company discuss whether the new and improved Avi Garcia is here to stay. Subscribe to the White Sox Talk podcast today. We've got a new pitcher in the ball game, and it is Travis Wood. Remember him for his time with the Chicago Cubs across town. Wood came up with Cincinnati and now finds himself in the bullpen for the Royals. He's trailing 5-0. There you look at the numbers, on for the 11th time. And things have not gone very well in the early going. To finish up on the Ray Miller story, he came running out. Nothing was going on. I said to him, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I got a message for you." I said, "From whom?" He says, "Your infielders." I said, "What do they want?" He said, "They want you to throw the ball. They're falling asleep." And then I worked very quickly after that because he got his point across. And, you know, he's right in that the fielders behind you will play much better behind you if you just get the ball and throw it.
Oh, we used to scream at our pitchers.
Oh, they hate, especially if it's really hot, standing around and, 3.5-hour game. Tough on them.
We had a couple pitchers when I was here in Kansas City. 2-0-3-1 on every hitter. 2-0-3-1 on every hitter. And I'm telling you what, we were absolutely standing out there screaming at them. That's out of play. Cabrera 1 for 3. It's amazing to me that in high school and in college that pitchers are not taught. If you're going to make a mistake, make it by working too fast rather than too slow, because you have a chance to develop a rhythm. As there's a line shot right back through the middle, you got a chance to develop a rhythm if you're working quickly rather than standing out there holding the ball, taking 40-45 seconds in between pitches. And it's not so much for the length of the game. It's just for trying to win a baseball game. You're more effective when you work quickly. And it's been proven.
Yeah, and just about every sport you care to talk about, rhythm is the key to performance. You get in a good rhythm, you stay there. You're always trying to find the good rhythm. It's tough to find when you won't release the baseball if you're on the mound. And
well,
so,
one of the greatest performers in any sport we've ever seen has been Michael Jordan, and that was a word he used more than any other: rhythm. We got to find our defensive rhythm. We got to find our offensive rhythm. I've got to find my rhythm. He used that word all the time.
Well, it's the key to just about every sport, and all of the things you do within each and every sport is rhythm and finding it. And once you find it, stay there.
I bet you with a big hack. I remember in 05, One of the things that Ozzie did to help that ball club, because Ozzie, make no mistake about it, was instrumental in our club winning a world championship in '05. I mean, ultra instrumental in it. It was a period there that our club looked lethargic and everything else, and Ozzie got on them and made them and told them, hey, let's speed it up. I want pitchers to run the ball quicker. I want the guys hustling more. I want everything faster. And all of a sudden the club started playing better and better and better. That's what we used to say. That was our mantra before every game. Two things. We'd stand in our uniforms on the top step ready to take the field. And there's a shot base hit into right field. Melky's going to make the turn. He's going to go, and now here's Abreu on his way, and here's the throw. Not in time, so the double. Ducks on the pond, nobody out here in the top of the 7th.
Been talking in this series about Jose, and as the weather has heated up somewhat, so has he. Now he's using the whole field. He hit this ball very hard and then hustles it into a double because it's not a certain thing that he was going to be able to get there. Melky making sure the line drive goes through and then hustling into third base. Now brings the infield in.
Here's Avi. But the two things we would say for every ball game, every game. All right, boys, let's get in their bullpen in a hurry. And of course, you don't want to do all that today.
And there's some teams you just as soon never see the bullpen.
And the second thing we say, if we get beat, let's get beat in a hurry. That ball into right field. He just shoved it out there, muscled it. So here comes Abreu. Two more are going to score, and it's a 7-0 on the 2-run single by Avi.
Avi's got 23 runs driven in. Taking this ball through the right side, inside out swing, just eases it by Hosmer, who was in close, so you don't have an angle on a ground ball when you're up that tight. And it plated a pair.
Well, that's what you get when you try to beat a guy arm side. You can get base hits like that.
Yeah, Avi has been a revelation this year, doing just about everything you could possibly do to play winning baseball on a daily basis.
Yuri. And they turn it. Well, Avi is going to get better and better. So here is Cody. Cody, actually one of the big hits in this game, that 2-run double back in the 4th. That made it a 5-0 ball game.
"23 runs driven in." Avi is off to just a magnificent start.
You give Avi Garcia another year or two in this league, and I'll tell you, you're going to see something.
He's going to hardly be too much better than he's been right now.
You wait and see. You're going to see something in another year or two. As he gets him, but the big 2-run single by Avi Garcia, 7th inning stretch. We lead it by 7. better than ever. You can watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Bottom of the 7th. Our guys trying to even up this series at 2 games apiece, and we lead at 7-0.
And take a 5-2 lead in the season series. Sox have lost 6 season series in a row to these Royals. And with a win today, a good leg up on ending that futility streak. Derek has done a great job of just flipping over slow curveballs to catch a strike early in the count. Nobody's swinging at him, and there you look at spectacular numbers with 6+, 7 strikeouts, no walks.
Kane has popped up to Avi and grounded to short. That evens the count at 2. One of the few full counts he has had today. And that's the first walk. He's given up no runs, 2 hits, 1 walk now, and 7 strikeouts. And here is Hosmer.
Of the 7 strikeouts, 6 have been swinging. So that shows you the stuff's been good. One thing to get a called third, sometimes you outguess the hitter, but when they're not making contact on a swinging strike 3, it shows you the stuff has been a little special this afternoon.
Foul ball. Just foul.
Kerwin Danley right on the call. Eric Hosmer thought it was a fair ball, and Danley is saying no, it was not. Kerwin is right on the line. And I mean, he is looking at it right at his feet. So you'd assume that he got that called correctly.
There's a little shank in the left field, and that's going to fall. So Kane reading it perfectly. Runners at the corners. A little Kansas City special right there off the bat of Hosmer.
Hosmer has started to come to life in this series, and it's not a coincidence that he's hitting to left and left center field.
Well, you got a club that puts the ball in play. They haven't been doing that very well this year. But against us, first game they didn't. They hit the ball hard when they beat us 6-1. So there was no Kansas City specials then in game 2. And yesterday and today, a lot of them.
That was the preferred method of offense for this team. Put the bat on the ball, use speed, and stay aggressive, especially with a huge park as your home park.
Here's Perez. He's popped to second and flied to left.
Salvy's going to ground into lots of double plays this year. Combination of hitting the ball hard and having those hamstrings tighten up a bit from all those years of catching.
That's into center field. So Kane will score, and it's a 7-1 ball game.
RBI number 15 for Salvador Perez on that sacrifice fly. That's his second sacrifice fly of the year.
Here's Gordon. He's going out to center, and he is struck out. $36,525 attendance today.
Well, on weather day here in Kansas City, they were rewarded with the best weather we've seen in the 4-game series. And lots of kids ringing the upper deck. That got him. It's the first inning that Derek Holland has lost the release point. That one catches the left arm. Don Cooper now coming out. He wants to have a word with him, and the bullpen is going to get to work for the first time. So Don is out there to take as much time as he possibly can, walk as slowly as he can, and wait until Bill Miller comes out from behind the plate to break it up. So he allows the bullpen, which is just springing to work now, to get loosened up. Bill Miller is strolling to the mound. He wants to break this up. Don would just as soon pitch a tent out there if he could. Anthony Swarzak stretching out, and he will start to get ready quickly.
So here's Bonifacio. Jorge is grounded to second and struck out. Takes first pitch strike. But Bonifacio hit a tremendous home run, 4th inning in game 1. And of course that was on May 1st, and Steve and I have talked about it several times. That's unbelievable. That was the first 2-run homer for Kansas City on May 1st. I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Well, it's somewhat hard to believe that you could go an entire month, any month of the season, take your pick. You go an entire month without hitting as much as a 2-run homer.
No, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Pitch number 89 on the way. as Swarzak continues to loosen.
Ground ball right side. Take it yourself. He will. Two down.
Another nice off-speed pitch at Bonifacio, cueing it off the end of the bat.
So here's Escobar. A strikeout and a fly out to center. A little too low.
Cedes came over from the Milwaukee Brewers along with Lorenzo Cain in a deal. Zach Greinke left Kansas City, went to Milwaukee.
Count evens of 1. By him. Another run scores is 7-2.
Looked like Matt was looking at home plate as he was trying to backhand
Yes,
that ball, and instead of, I mean, you could have made the play at first very easily, but just looking at the plate, he lost track of the baseball. Most likely it'll be E5, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, it should be.
It is E5. And that's going to be it. Derek Holland a little unhappy not being able to get through the 7th inning.
Well, he was just outstanding today. He had complete control of this ball game from the get-go, striking out the first 2 hitters, didn't give up his first hit till the 4th inning, his second hit to the 6th inning. He'll depart. Job well done, Mr. Holland, and we'll be back.
Anthony Swarzak. He inherits runners at the corners and 2 outs. On for the 11th time. He's 2-0. His ERA is 0. Some pretty impressive numbers. 15 strikeouts, just 1 walk. As he looks in at Chesler Cuthbert.
One for two, a double. So 2 out runners at the corners. That should be a can of corn. And that'll retire the side. They come up with a pair, and it's a 7-2 good guy lead.
eClickLending.com. eClick is located in Chicagoland and is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. eClick Lending. Boom! Your mortgage just happened. So let's take a look at our farm report. David Holmberg was called back. There you look at what he did at AAA Charlotte. Nate Jones going on the disabled list. He's got some elbow difficulties, so another left-hander in that bullpen, David Holmberg.
So here's Matt. Matt, a long home run, a single, and then he just missed one in the 7th. That error by Davidson, who has been playing some outstanding defense, that was his first error of the season.
Well, we knew a lot of things about him. We knew, number one, he was enormously strong. We were just waiting to see some consistency with making contact. But he's gotten better and better defensively. He said that it was a goal of his to get to be a good quality third baseman. And we've seen great strides since he's come to the organization.
Well, when you get in proper position, get your fanny down, you got a chance to improve. As long as you're playing a semi or a stand-up third baseman or a first baseman, you got no chance.
Well, I've talked to some really good defensive third basemen. They all tell me the same thing, is they read the angle of the bat through the strike zone. And you get a pretty good idea if that ball's coming to you, and sometimes you can actually tell if it's coming to your right or left.
That's out of play.
So reading the angle of the bat, one of the keys to getting that all-important first quick step, because you don't have to be fast at third. You just have to be quick to either side.
Watch out. Well, we've talked about it a lot. The guys who have graduated, so to speak, into becoming an outstanding third baseman, most of them were not when they first got to the big leagues. They understand the game is a little faster up here than it is in the minor leagues.
And they understand the value of getting down under baseballs instead of trying to stay and play a stand-up third base.
Can't do it. You cannot do it at the corners. I don't care how good you are. You cannot play a stand-up first or third base in the major leagues. I remember the Minnesota Twins had a third baseman that came up, and he was very good right from the get-go, but he was really low. Really, and that kid's name was Johnny Castino.
Clams Castino.
He was very good when he first got up. Defensively.
He had some back issues too.
Yes, he did.
And that really curtailed his career.
As there is ball 4.
There is a pretty good player here, Mr. Brett. You know, I heard a good story about George as it pertained to his hitting when he came up from the minor leagues. He kept his hands up high because his hero, the player that he wanted to emulate, was Carl Yastrzemski. He loved him, and Carl's hands were very high at that point of his career. Charlie Lau was trying to explain to George, yes, his hands start high, but you have to drop down into the hitting situation. He eventually got George to lower his hands. Of course, the rest is history. He became one of the great players in our game. And he owed a lot of that to Charlie Lau, who was a terrific hitting coach.
Another one of George's favorite players was his brother Kimmer.
Well, he was.
Who George will tell you was a better hitter than he was.
Better everything. Threw 100 miles an hour. Kenny Brett.
I remember the day he joined us with the Red Sox. Still, I think, one of, if not the youngest pitcher to pitch in the World Series. His fastball moved, but it's about as much outside of Steve Dalkowski, who was a guy who acknowledged to be the hardest thrower ever in the game of baseball. That ball gets away. No. There's the throw to second base.
He made it real close.
I know it.
Matt didn't look back to see if there was going to be a play, and he just barely got there. Salvi doesn't let too many trickle away. Matt kind of pulled up and fortunately was in, an eyelash ahead of the throw. They give him a pass ball.
The Kimmer played with the pitch for the White Sox. That is just foul.
He was a teammate of mine when I got here. A terrific guy. And what George said about his older brother was there wasn't one thing he could do better than George. It didn't matter if it was hitting, throwing, running, anything you wanted to do. George was not quite as good as Kimmer Brett.
What a sweetheart he was. Kimmer passed away with a brain tumor.
Yeah, I remember talking with him. He was really battled it, and eventually it won.
So here's Yolmer. Breaking ball and chops it foul.
Infield in, all 4 positions. Fly ball gets the job done.
Lorenzo getting in shape. And he's safe. And it's 8-2.
RBI number 6 for Yolmer. Just far enough. Kane did a nice job of getting the ball back in and making it as close as it was. We'll see him tag up. Yes, indeed. And a pretty good throw by Lorenzo Kane. And a good pickup and tag by Perez, but a little late.
So because of the pass ball ruling, that is at this point an unearned run. Cameron Brett was with the ball club, our club, White Sox in '76 and '77. Did he ever tell you how he hurt his arm?
No.
He had gone to National Guard duty when he was with the Red Sox. He came back and they were in Milwaukee, and they let him go. They started him, and it was a cold, cold night in Milwaukee, drizzling rain. And they let him go like, is there, look at the little infield single right there by Saladino. And he went like, I think, 8 innings. Hadn't been throwing, you know.
And that was it.
Hurt his shoulder, and he still pitched. I don't know what, 8 or 9 years in the big leagues.
I mean, he had a nice career, and just.
But he had a chance to be
same arm.
Herb Score-like.
Yeah.
Cabrera, 2 for 4. Takes first pitch strike. Eight, 10, and 1 for us. 2, 3, and 1 for them. If you're just tuning in, Derek Collins has dominated this Royal Ball Club today. Hits that one hard down by Nick Capra. He gave that one away all the way.
The best thing that happened to Wood on that pitch was that it landed in front of the plate.
About a 53-footer.
Yeah, he slowed down his motion. You might as well have yelled in. It's a changeup.
3 and 2. There's a shot caught by Moustakas. That's the hang woof 'em. But we pick up 1 and we lead it 8-2. All right, Chuck, thank you very much. As it's the top of the order here in the bottom of the 8th inning for Kansas City. First pitch strike to Whit Merrifield at 0 for 3 today. 2 for 11 with an RBI in the series.
This is probably a real good day to get David Robertson an inning of work. But first things first, you got to get through the 8th. The way Swarzak has been throwing it, he hasn't had many difficulties with anybody.
Big gap out there in left center for the 28-year-old infielder or outfielder.
The time he slipped off the mound, Anthony is lucky he was able to maintain control of the ball. Just don't want to see that with the runners on.
He gone. 1 out.
Good slider out of the zone. Merrifield goes down swinging for the 3rd time this afternoon. 3rd strikeout. And so that's going to be it. Anthony is going to depart after another job well done. And as he steps up, so will we. We'll be back.
Tickets as low as $5 in the upper level, $15 in the lower level, and parking for only $10. Plus, special kid-focused activities located throughout the ballpark. That's Family Sundays, proudly presented by Coca-Cola. So visit WhiteSox.com/Sundays to purchase your tickets today.
Hyundai calls the pen is David Holmberg. He was originally picked by the Sox when he first got into pro ball. 2nd round pick in 2009. Then eventually made his way to Cincinnati and the Atlanta organization.
Moustakas 0-1 to count. Well, he's a big guy, 6'3", 245, 25 years old.
Sox must certainly like him because not only did they draft him and sign him originally as a free agent, but he was signed as a free agent by the Sox last year at the start of last season and last year at the end of last season.
High pop up. How about you? One out. Check that, 2 outs. Warzak struck out with Merrifield. And here, with 2 out, nobody on, is Lorenzo Cain, who is 0 for 2. With a walk and a run scored.
David was throwing it pretty well in AAA, and it's kind of nice to have another left-hander in the bullpen. Takes some of the appearances away from Dan Jennings.
Well, Jennings is very happy to see him.
you could take that to the bank. Dan pitched an inning in last night's game, gave up a couple of runs.
Well, unless you got lockdown right-handers, you have got to have at least 2 left-handers out there. Preferably 3, but at least 2.
There's a look at Tommy Kahnle.
And one of the big reasons being is that you can with 2 left-handers out there, to some degree you can control what the other manager is going to do. If you got 3 out there, then you have much more control over what that manager is going to do. You can manage accordingly. Full count. And that's Souvenir upper tank. Sox trying to even up the series at 2 games apiece and take a 5-2 season series lead over Kansas City. Sox also trying to make it 8 wins in the last 11 games. That ball in the gap. Nobody's going to get it. So Cain picks up his 5th double.
He hits this ball very hard. It's a fastball low and away. He reaches out, gets it, and keeps the inning alive.
So here's Hosmer. Well, Cain to some degree victim of contagion when it comes to the club not hitting.
Yeah, he's going to hit. So is Hosmer.
Moustakas, Gordon. Yeah, this is not a club that should be 9-17 coming in.
Different
but
bullpen.
You got to score some runs.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a different bullpen, but when you're not scoring runs, then everything is magnified. You make any kind of mistake, and it shows up.
1-1. That's the one thing that makes the club look lethargic. It's not bad pitching or even bad defense. It's when you don't hit, the whole thing looks lethargic.
It's hard to be real energetic with no base runners, or a moderate amount of base runners.
Too much time. 2-2 the count. Just tuning in, we scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the seventh, 1 in the eighth. And he's trying to nibble, and the count goes full.
There is the Kansas City closer, Kelvin Herrera. Probably he could use an inning of work. We haven't seen him in the series.
There's a base hit, so that's going to score the run. And it's 8-3.
Avian number 10 for Hosmer, who once again takes advantage of the opposite field and the shift. Hits it at straightaway shortstop, but because of the shift, Saladino is not there. And it's a 5-run lead.
Salvador Perez, the catcher. 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. Ball hit high in the right field. Obviously, a long way to go, but he gets there, makes the catch, and that'll retire the side. They pick up one. We'll go to the ninth, leading 8-3.
Back at it tomorrow as they kick off the series against Manny Machado and the Orioles. Coverage from Camden Yards starts at 6 on CSN, and you can stream the game at csnchicago.com. Look at a new pitcher in the ball game. It is Kelvin Herrera, the closer. Picked up 12 saves last year. This year, 3 of 4 in save opportunities. Even 3-point ERA. Only 6 strikeouts in 9 innings, which for him is unusual because he is a hard thrower.
Here's Abreu, 2 for 4. 2-run homer in the first, double in the seventh. just joining us. Avi, big 2-run single. Has 23 RBIs. And the count 0-2 to Abreu. Ashe, one of the big hits in the game, a big 2-run double back in the 4th. Davidson, a home run and a single, so that's out number 1.
It's normally more of the Herrera that we've seen. A good solid curveball with a fastball that tops out 98, 99 miles an hour, occasionally triple digits.
Javi with those 2 RBIs, also a run scored.
In the glory days of this Royal bullpen, when it was really functioning well, Herrera was the setup man.
Oh boy, Javi.
That fastball was 99 and he just shot it through the right side. Takes it the other way. 99 at the knees on the outside part of the plate is not that easy to hit, folks. Javi made it look easy there.
That'll bring up Leury. He's 0 for 2. But he has scored a run. He was hit by a pitch and also walked. That one a little high and wide at 96. Change up. 1 out, 1-1 to count. 8-11-1 for us, 3-5-1 for them. We have stranded 6. They have stranded 5. Runs that one up there at 96.
It's going to be Tommy Kahnle in the 9th. He continues to throw in the Sox pen.
And once again, a reminder, make your plans to be with us tomorrow night, 1st of 3 from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And that game will be right here on CSN Chicago. Saturdays on WGN and Sundays right back here on CSN Chicago, as there's another foul ball. And tomorrow night, Miguel Gonzalez against Wade Miley. On Saturday, Dylan Covey against Dylan Bundy. And the finale on Sunday, Jose Quintana, final game of this 10-game road trip.
That's what it looks like tomorrow. Soft tossing left-hander Wade Miley, thrown it pretty well, as is Miguel Gonzalez. He's throwing it very well, and he's getting a chance to throw against his former club. That always gives you a little added incentive.
Leury cutting and slashing up there, fouling off pitch after pitch. Softly hit. Two down.
Merrifield was thinking about second base and then realized that you got to play it first. It's the second out anyway. And he had no angle to flip it.
Besides that, Ozzie had a pretty good. Avi had a pretty good lead, pretty good jump right there, and that's what base running's all about. Getting a good lead, good jump. Ashe. Cody, that big 2-run double back in the fourth. Made it a 5-0 ball game. And there's a little soft broken bat. And that'll retire the side. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. Leading by 5.
Miller Time brought to you by Miller Lite, and here's our Miller Moments, and it was the afternoon in the life of Derek Holland, who was brilliant today. He went 6 2/3, gave up 2 runs, only one of them earned on only 3 hits with a walk and 7 strikeouts. Can't do it much better than that. Derek Holland making a bid for his 3rd win. And Tommy Kahnle comes in the ball game. And with 3 outs, he will accomplish that 3rd win. There you look at the numbers so far. They've been spectacular. 19 strikeouts, 1 walk in 9 innings. As he's got still the 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but the straight change that he's added and he's gotten over the plate consistently has been just a devastating pitch for him this year.
Alex Gordon will lead it off. Jorge Bonifacio on deck. And Alcides Escobar in the hole. Want to know the count. 2-0.
And just in case, a man who has not seen a whole lot of action recently, David Robertson.
No walks. Come back and get him. And the count 3-0. Sox started off this road trip 3 in Detroit. Took 2 out of 3 there. And trying to split this 4-game series. take a 4-3 lead on this road trip with 3 remaining in Baltimore. There's one. So here comes Bonifacio. He's 0 for 3 today. Ground out to second, a strikeout, and a ground out to first. Takes a strike.
That was a changeup. Not in a good spot, but on the first pitch, very few guys want to swing at off-speed pitches.
Take your time, boys. Rack them up. 2 down.
Very quick, very accurate. 5-4-3. Now 1 out away from getting a series split.
Here's Escobar. Takes that one at 97 up high. And the count 2-0. There's the strike. Washington beat Arizona 4-2 earlier today. Scherzer 4-2 the winner. Oakland beat Minnesota 8-5. And Cleveland at Detroit. Well, that game was banged earlier today.
Cleveland wending their way here. Probably here already.
Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh 4-2. Phillies and Cubs tied at 4. The game in the bottom of the 9th. Full count to Alcides. Count hangs at 3-2. Texas leading Houston 6-4. The game after 7 down in Houston. Sox trying to win their 8th game in the last 11. and go 8-7 on the road. High pop up. Watch out, the area, and this ball game is over. So the